Hi, Darby. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you were in our center this week, and so you were referred to us by your psychologist. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you came from South Carolina to Cleveland. You and your
Mhm.
mom. It was so nice to
Yes.
hear. That's awesome. So, tell us a little bit about why, number one, your psychologist had recommended, and we've invited her, so maybe she will jump in. We're not sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if how on a Sunday they'll feel about jumping, but tell us a little bit about why you wanted the neurosympathetic reset and what you were hoping to gain from it, and maybe what caused you to get to the point of needing it.
Yeah. So Maya, she's my therapist, psychologist or whatever, recommended it to me. I've been doing evox/talk therapy with her for almost 2 years now, dealing with some PTSD from one related incident. But then as we kind of were digging deeper, just unearthing things, um, and my PTSD was really causing like some anxiety, heavy depression. We've tried talk therapy. I tried medication as well and had a really horrible reaction to depressants and anti-anxiety medication. And I was just kind of getting to the point where I didn't know what else to do. I was, fairly suicidal, really deep, dark place. And I kind of just felt like I don't know what else to do. And Maya mentioned this, and it seemed like I'll try anything at this point to kind of feel a little bit better, a little bit brighter. So yeah, it was really a no-brainer. As soon as Maya was like, "Yeah, I've heard of this thing that could be helpful," I was like, "Great, take my money, sign me up. I'll do whatever." But then when digging into the science with her and stuff, it was very enlightening and yeah, seemed like the right fit for me at the time.
That's awesome. So I love that you were just so like you'll do anything, to help yourself. So
Mhm.
do you feel comfortable talking a little bit about what got you to that point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a sailor. I work on boats and I have been for about 4 years. And I spent most of those years doing it in Hawaii. So I was working on dive boats and snorkel boats at the time. And we were putting a lot of people in the water in some rough waters. And so I experienced a couple of incidences where people passed away, drowning, heart attacks in the water. Um, and being a first mate at the time, I was kind of in charge of some medical emergencies. So dragging people out of the water and doing CPR and having to do that an hour and a half, 9 miles offshore and coordinate. Anyways, it was traumatic, and I'm a sensitive soul. And so some of the other people there that day didn't feel the way I felt afterwards, but I had a really hard time moving on after trying to resuscitate somebody and not going very well. So yeah, it just kind of led to some anxiety, and instead of taking time off like I should have, I just kept working and working and working and going back to the same boat every day. And so it kind of I call it, like my quarter life crisis. Led to a bit of a mental breakdown. I just got like so deep, dark, depressed, super anxious. And what I thought I was dealing with was some anxiety. And then I met Maya and found out that I was dealing with some PTSD and kind of having the classic symptoms, hypervigilance, overwhelm, like quick to anger, flashbacks, and all of that stuff. So that's kind of where it started. And it took me a while to move past it. I still, things like that are stuff that you will take with you forever. And I think it just kind of changed the way I was wired. I used to be a super adventurous, carefree person, and that's just not who I am anymore. I take things a little bit more seriously. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the incident.
Okay. So you went through a couple of years of evox, which
Mhm.
is really a pretty cool way to kind of work through some things
Yeah.
on a neurological way. Very similar. It's a very good complement actually to NSR treatment. So you went through that. You were at a place. Tell me a little bit about what kind of progress you made there, and then what's been the progress since you've had the treatment.
Yeah. So when I met Maya and she suggested Evox, I was living in Hawaii at the time, like thousands of miles away from family. And I was in a really deep, dark place, kind of unable to take care of myself. So we did a full overhaul. I moved back in with my dad, in my early 20s, which was not what everybody wants to do, but I really committed to, I used my savings. I took off work, and me and Maya really went hard with the e-box, and it was very helpful. I mean, the technology is so cool. I feel like it kind of allows you not to lie to yourself. Like you can tell the software, oh, I'm feeling fine today. And it'll be like, that's not true. So we made some really great progress. I mean, that was a really hard time in my life. I wasn't leaving the house, basic self-care was difficult. And it really helped me get back to a place where I was able to move back out of my dad's place and get back on the water, working on boats, which I thought I was never going to be able to do. But I was still deeply struggling with anxiety, and I had tools to push through it, but it just gets so heavy after a while, like I know the things to do when I start feeling anxious to help alleviate it, but waking up every morning still with a racing heart and having trouble sleeping, and every time I leave the house having to like psych myself up, like being able to do those things was progress, as before I wasn't really able to do those things, but it still just like takes a toll, and it's like so heavy. And so after getting the reset, it's just kind of taken away that initial like gut punch. Like when a friend suggests, hey, let's go grab dinner, instead of like having an immediate anxious response and having to talk myself out of it and being like, no, this is a good thing for you. Like you should go be with friends. I can just say yes and not even have to think about it. I feel like it's taken away that like initial like spike in anxiety that I was having that really wasn't warranted, but it was just kind of part of my reaction.
So, okay, so you had told me before when we first got on, you said you went to get your nails done either yesterday or today,
Yeah.
that you realized you were there. Tell me a little bit about tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, I was just we flew back from Ohio at like 4 a.m. and I got home and I thought I was gonna be tired and took a nap, but I wasn't. So I was kind of awake and I was like, oh, I'll just go kill some time and get my nails done. And I was sitting there in the chair and I was like looking around and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not stressed out at all. I'm in a city that I don't know. I'm staying with my mom for the weekend, so I'm not familiar with the area. So I was like, I'm in a place I don't know. I don't know anybody. And I just found this place on Google and here I am. And there was no anxiety, no hesitation. And I wasn't getting like, when I feel anxiety, I get quite dizzy and disoriented. And I wasn't feeling any of those things, it was strange because that's been kind of my norm for 2 or 3 years now. So it was really exciting.
It reminds me when my son-in-law had extreme social anxiety,
Mhm.
and he would not go to malls or any place that until it was like really like nobody there. And
Yeah.
if we went to a restaurant, he'd have to sit with his back to the corner looking out to the restaurant so he knew where everyone was.
Hmm.
And the day of the treatment, we went to dinner, and I didn't know all of this, like he hadn't shared it all with me, but
Hmm.
he all of a sudden realized that he sat down in the restaurant with his back towards everybody and never had even realized he did that.
Yeah.
And then we went to the mall, and it was the 21st of December, and we
Oh
went
gosh.
to Macy's, and we're walking through Macy's, and we realize very quickly that he's okay. And I turned around and I said, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, why?" And I'm like, "Because you're in a mall at Christmas time in Macy's I mean, there were people everywhere." So I like
Yeah.
on the camera and started talking to him because it was so amazing, and he didn't even realize he had done it. And it
Hmm.
sounds to me like you had a very similar experience, like you were
Yeah.
sitting there and you were like, wait a second, I'm actually here and I didn't think about it. Is that kind of
Yeah. It is. And I think my mom's kind of been giggling because like you know, as I've been dealing with this the past couple of years, she's become like a very prominent figure in my life. Like every month will come and stay with her for a weekend just because I need like a break from the world. And during those times, I'm like glued to her side, like I need the support. And she's been kind of worried, not worried, but she's been like, are you sure you're okay to go by yourself? Like, I'll go with you. Or like she like before like wouldn't go to bed before I went to bed because she didn't want me to sit in the living room by myself in case I got really anxious, which has happened before. It's like kind of embarrassing to say at 25 that I still would need to like, sit with my mom, but life happens. It is what it is. I was like, no, I go to bed. I'm totally fine. And she was like, okay, well, if you need anything. And it's so interesting. Like I finally feel like I can be the independent adult that I was before starting to deal with PTSD. So
Wow.
it's been good.
That's, that's pretty cool. So any other things that you've recognized? I mean, it hasn't been that long, only a couple of days, but what I find the treatments so profound with the NSR treatment is that we can have, even just within a couple of days, such a profound result. But everybody notices little things. My girlfriend did it, and in like less than 2 weeks, she had noticed 43 different differences in things that she had been able to do. Any other differences you've been able to find? Or
Yeah. Well, what makes me so excited is just that, like, I have excitement now. Like, I have been dealing with depression as a side effect of this for years now. And so I've been, hitting milestones in my life. Like I just got my captain's license to drive boats, and I should be super excited about, I am now, but before the shot, I was kind of like, okay, well, another thing just to do, like what else to do? You move up, you do what you do, but now I'm just so like deeply excited. And like I know now, like the real work begins. I know I need to like start implementing things in my life, like healthy eating and exercise habits and like a mental health practice. Whereas before I just didn't have like the energy or the excitement or like the hope to even start. But now I'm like, oh, I'm excited to go try a new workout class with my girlfriends, or I'm excited to try a new diet, or like I'm excited to take on the work of a new job and learn something. I just think like hope, like the little spark of hope that like most people have, I just was missing for a long time. And so I just feel like even though I know there's work to be done, I'm excited about it. And that has like made all the difference. Like I'm excited to go to work next week, which I've been dreading, the past 2 years, don't want to go to work, but I can't wait to go to work. So it's just, yeah, it's taken a weight off. I feel like hopeful for the future, which I feel like is very profound.
that's
It makes all
awesome.
the difference.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how your time with Maya goes after
Yeah.
having the NSR treatment, because what I've heard from a lot of therapists is they make more progress
Mhm.
after the treatment than they've ever made before. Because, and I told Maya this when I was speaking to her, I said, one of our psychologists said that now when I sit down with my patients, instead of constantly looking in the review mirror with them and talking about the past, we're actually talking about the future. And
Mhm.
normally we're just so stuck in the past that we don't actually make it into the
Yeah.
future to think about what is to come versus what happened in the past.
The packet that Dr. Lauers put together that he gave me was awesome. Like the way he explained everything and how the shot like helps you move forward. I don't know. It was just a really awesome outlook that I hadn't thought of before. So I'm excited to do it differently this time and actually like make it work for me because it's not, I mean, nothing ever is a magic pill, but I'm very excited to like use it to work. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when I was there and I got to see you after your treatment, your response was giggling, right? Like
Yeah.
just laughing and giggling. Everybody has a different response. And
Mhm.
I think the same day you were there, we had another patient that the immediate response was crying and
Mhm.
hadn't cried for many, many years and just had that release of crying. Explain how you felt like right afterward that made you feel like that you could just laugh and be.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt really light and airy. Part of it could have also been the Valium. We discovered that I'm very sensitive to medication. So they were like, you're gonna feel like you've had a glass of wine. I feel like I drank the whole bottle, but I was having a great time. But I don't know. I just felt like so at ease and so calm, which I just hadn't felt in so long. I just felt kind of like giddy. And it was such like, I think a lot of people hear like a shot in the neck and there's a lot of anxiety, but it was such an easy experience. And the doctor was great, and Shauna, the nurse, was amazing. She had, like put her hand on my shoulder the whole time, and I didn't even ask her to, but just having like that little like piece of comfort, and like she knew that it was uncomfortable, so she just put her hand on my shoulder, like was so helpful. It made all the difference. So I just had like a really great experience. I felt so like loved and cared for. I was just, laughing.
That's awesome. Well, we're very, very honored that you came all the way from South Carolina to Cleveland to get your treatment. And anything else you want to say to anybody considering the treatment?
Um, I just think you should do it. Like, and you never know And I was talking to some people that had gotten it done, and I don't think you have to have some traumatic experience for this to be helpful. I think life is hard for everybody. Everybody has that thing. And it can help with so many things. If you just struggle with mild anxiety or mild depression or sleep problems, like I don't know. I don't see any negative to it. Like now I'm trying to convince my mom and my sisters to do it. Cause I'm like, you guys just don't understand. Like it could just take the edge off a little bit and it's so accessible, it's so affordable. I just don't really see a downside, you know?
Yeah, I early on before we opened, I had 7 or 8 people in to explain the treatment. And by the end of it, they're like, so everybody really needs it then because of all the different modalities that it
Hmm.
helps. And kind of like you said, it's not gonna hurt you, right? You know, it's
Yeah.
simple, it's easy. I myself had it done for menopause. I was having 35 to 40 hot flashes a day.
Oh
Now I
gosh.
have like none, you know, which
Yeah.
amazing because it re-regulates your temperature gauge and
Yeah.
so, you didn't have any long COVID symptoms, right?
Um, I I don't know. I've had so many maybe. I mean, I had COVID like 3 times, so there's no
Okay.
saying.
So you didn't have any loss of smell?
Mm-mm.
No, okay, so that's been like super cool is watching people
Yeah.
have had loss of smell come back and, you know,
Yeah.
get their smell back and enjoy life again and not have things to
Yeah. Well, I think like what's awesome about the research now is that for so long we all thought PTSD was like going to war and being in horrific car accidents, but it can be like anything. Like your body can just react to things. I mean, we're all wired a little bit differently and we all experience life differently. So I think, and especially like childhood trauma, like if things happen so young, people don't even realize that they're experiencing traumatic things. It's just their new normal. You adapt. And if something happened to you when you're 5 years old and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, like you've just been living life for so long that way you don't even know any different. So I think it's worth exploring for anybody that finds it interesting. I mean, you just never know like what you're going to uncover and how beneficial it'll be.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me and
Absolutely.
reaching out and sharing your experience. And when I heard your good news, I just thought, let's get on the phone and talk about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Tell your mom I said hi and thank you
Awesome.
guys so much for coming in. And I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Kelly.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.